Hello guys, my name is Mahendra and today we're going to understand what heterotopia is. Before understanding what heterotopia, let's find out what is utopia. So first there are the utopia. Utopias are sites with no real place. They are sites that have general relation of direct or inverted analogy with the real space of society. They present society itself in a perfected form or else society turned upside down, but in any case these utopias are fundamentally unreal spaces. So what do we understand by this paragraph is that we find that utopias are fundamentally unreal spaces. So it's kind of imaginary world, but in a very perfected form. Okay. By the way, this paragraph has been taken from of other spaces by Michel Foucault. It is a part of the lecture that has been given by Michel Foucault in the year 1967 to some architects. There are also probably in every culture, in every civilization, real places, places that do exist and that are formed in the very founding of society, which are something like countersites, a kind of effectively enacted utopia in which the real sites, all the other real sites that can be found within the culture are simultaneously represented, contested and inverted. So in every culture, every civilization, there are different kind of places, different kinds of sites. Maybe they can make a utopia, but we have to put them together simultaneously so that they can be the part of heterotopia. So what a heterotopia is? Heterotopia is having different spaces or reality in one space. Places of this kinds are outside of all places, even though it may be possible to indicate their location in reality, because these places are absolutely different from all the sites that they reflect and speak about. I shall call them, by the way of contrast to utopias, heterotopia. So these places, maybe they are different, maybe in a different location, different places, absolutely different. But what Michel Foucault called them just contrast to utopia. It's just heterotopia. Heterotopia is a world within a world. I believe that between utopias and these quite other sides, these heterotopias, there might be a sort of mixed joint experience, which would be the mirror. So here Michel Foucault has tried to make a connection between utopia and heterotopia by giving the example of a mirror. So the mirror is after all a utopia, since it is a placeless place. In the mirror, I see myself there where I am not, in an unreal virtual space that opens up behind the surface. I am over there where I am not, a sort of shadow that gives my own visibility to myself, that enables me to see myself there where I am absent. So what mirror is? When we're talking about a virtual world created by a mirror, that is a part of a utopia, a world which makes me happy, that is inside the mirror. But when you're gonna talk about the mirror exists in real world, that can make a part of the heterotopia. So because mirror exists in real world, because of that the mirror is heterotopia. But the virtual image that mirror makes, that is a part of utopia. So a mirror is the perfect example to make a connection between utopia and the heterotopia. Now we come to the classification of heterotopias. So its first principle is that there is probably not a single culture in the world that fails to constitute heterotopias. That is the constitute of every human group. But the heterotopias obviously take quite varied forms, and perhaps no one absolutely universal form of heterotopia would be found. We can, however, class them in two main categories. So however, there are different kinds of things in the world, different kinds of classes, different kinds of sites, different kinds of things around us, but we can classify them into two main categories. Number one is crisis heterotopia. So in that so-called primitive society, there is a certain forms of heterotopia that I would call crisis heterotopia. So they are privileged or sacred or forbidden places reserved for individuals who are in relations to society and to the human environment in which they live. So the number first one is crisis heterotopia, like a privileged thing, forbidden places, reserved places for some individual person. So as you can see that maybe the kind of places just booked for some VIPs, and there are different kinds of things where you cannot go, but another person can go. So this kind of a secret place so totally this kind of thing comes under the category of crisis heterotopia. And the example could be like adolescents, menstruating women, pregnant women, and elderly. So this kind of things make an area where only some people who are allowed, they can go there. But the problem is that these kinds of heterotopia crises are disappearing today and are being replaced, I believe, by what we might call heterotopias of deviations. So heterotopia crises are being totally disappearing today, but they are replaced by heterotopia of deviations. So this is the second kind of heterotopia of deviations. Those in which individuals whose behavior is deviant in relation to the required mean or norms are placed. So look, when you are living in a society, there are certain kind of expectations by society. So when you are not fulfilling those kinds of demand, those kinds of things with respect of the society, then you are showing a deviation towards society, and thus you are being the part of that heterotopia of deviations. So cases of this are rest homes and psychiatric hospitals, and of course, prisons, and one should perhaps at retirement homes, and there are, as it were, on borderline between the heterotopia of crisis and the heterotopia of deviations. So when you're creating a deviations by breaking the rules of the society and creating a different kind of world, you are the part of the heterotopia of deviations, and they can send you to the hospital, they can send you to the prison, where you have your own area, your own personal area, that is called heterotopia of deviations. So he also mentions that heterotopia, the old ages crisis. Old age is also a crisis, heterotopia crisis, but it's also deviation, since our society where leisure is the rule, idleness is a sort of deviations. So he's saying that the old age is a part of the heterotopia of crisis also, and old is also heterotopia of deviations. So guys, thanks for watching this video, and for more videos, please stay tuned with ePlanet.